mums were very good friends, great friends. And it was great to find out that I was the goddaughter only when she became the daughter. I don't know, does he have any other goddaughters? Oh, right. Yeah, that was... Sorry?
Not that I know.
Yeah. No, not daughters, goddaughters. Sorry, it was like, I remember saying to Michelle, well, I'm his only goddaughter now. So, like Mum, Rex, Mum also, she really loves her children. She's not so effusive or anything, but also like him, she knows her children aren't perfect, but also unconditional love, which is great. And not boastful of her children. Like, I don't think he wasn't. He was just quietly very proud of his children. He never sort of, you know, and he's got a lot to be proud of with his children, I think. I think they've all achieved a lot. But he never, some people can be really annoying when they talk about their children, and I never felt that when he talked about my cousins or anything. So that was good, and I know how much he loved them. And he was very supportive, the same thing. The way he would talk to you was great, and he'd question you. And, you know, if I love a sweeping statement, I'm a great one for a sweeping statement, and he would just call you on that. Like, why do you say that? Which was great. Anyway, I've kind of run out of anything I can think of to say, except that I wish I knew him better. I didn't, because I lived in another country, I didn't see him very often, and I do wish I'd known him better. But I have very good memories, and he was a good godfather.
Would anyone else like to say some words? Yes. I know we're about to hear from somebody who Rex cared very much about. You can introduce yourself.
So far we've heard from family. I just have to say that I feel like family. I met Rex in 1985 when I was finishing up my PhD at Carnegie Mellon, and I interviewed for a job at the company that he started. He picked me up at the airport, and my first introduction to Rex's absent-mindedness, I was coming into a city that I knew nothing about, on very confusing roads, and he said, "Please don't let me forget my exit." So I realized it was my responsibility to make sure we got where we were going. But it was during that interview that I realized that Rex Brown was the Brown of Lindley, Tversky, and Brown, which was considered a seminal paper in decision theory, and that I had read multiple times, and I had a marked up copy in my office. And that was pretty much the deciding factor that this was the job I was going to take, because I would get to work with the Brown of Lindley, Tversky, and Brown. And I realized he was an incredible professional mentor. We worked together on teaching decision analysis to adolescents, and some of the teachers that we worked with taught the things we taught them to my children when they later were in middle school. So that was really, it was really a great opportunity that he gave me there. He was a great professional mentor and listened to me, and when I declared that I was going to work very hard from 9 to 5, but I was going to go home and I was going to be with my family. Years later, he told me that was something he admired about me rather than something that he had to put up with. And I was very pleased to have that. But also, he would walk into my office with his calendar, and he would say, "I don't think you and Ken have gone out often enough. When am I going to get to babysit?" He would say, "I have daughters, but I don't have grandchildren yet. I need grandchildren." So he would show up and he would basically shoo us out and say, you know, "Go have a good time." And I remember coming home once to find I guess they were like 4- and 2-year-old children, and Rex was crawling around on the floor, and the children were playing horsey on Rex's back. And this was what he did. And Leni, I guess you were singing, you know, "Be kind to your web-footed friends." My children heard that so often. It was one of their favorites. So, and I also consider myself blessed and fortunate to have been part of Rex's life his last few months. I was lucky to live only a few minutes from his house, and I tried to visit him as often as I could, about once a week in the final months, and just spend time with him and reminisce about our time together, reminisce about our children, my children, and his children. And I got to meet the newest grandchildren, and I got to see his daughters and see a lot of Dahlia. And I could see all of you kind of getting yourselves ready to, how am I going to live without Rex? And it's a challenge, it's a tough thing. I see those videos, and he's still a part of my life, and it's very hard to imagine going on living without Rex. I was also fortunate that 2 of my children were able to come and visit him. They were visiting me, so we stopped by Rex's house the last few months of his life, and they got to say goodbye to him also. So that's pretty much all that I have to say, but I really, I'm not his biological family, but he really did feel like family, and my children grew up with Rex as their surrogate grandfather.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, yes, yes. Right.
See, wherever. I'll let you do it.
Okay, thank you. There you go.
Okay. I'm Julie Boyd. My husband and daughter and I moved to Lake Winds as next door neighbors at the same time that Rex and Dahlia and their family did. They were new townhouses, and of course, you know, bare ground, and you're trying to decorate, and you're trying to do your garden and so forth. And Rex and Dahlia had the corner property, so they had a much larger property on the lake than us interior townhouse people did. And Rex set about landscaping his property. Dahlia's designer soul probably shuddered, but she apparently let him have his way. And I remember Rex had some raspberry bushes and several trees and various flowers, and he seemed to be very, very happy working in his garden. And one of our other neighbors said, well, there's a Rex and his English garden, one of everything. So that's my remembrance of Rex and our time together when we were neighbors. You've all said such wonderful things about him, which I agree with. The family man, the man of many languages, the multiple ethnic backgrounds, and so this has been a great memorial to Rex, who we all loved.
Thank you so much. Anyone else, or would like to? Well, we have yes, Tamara. Yes.
Hi, my name is Anthony. See, Tamara is somebody who was boyfriend-in-law partner, and I only met Rex for the first time about 4.5 years ago, and it's so wonderful to hear all these stories and anecdotes that just confirm and add to my impressions of him. It's just a truly wonderful and extraordinary. An extraordinary fellow who had a great capacity for humor and and love. And my first impression of him was actually on the phone. It was shortly before he was scheduled for one of his many hip surgeries. And Tamara and I had some vacation plans and had decided at the last moment, of course, that she decided she needed to be back here with him. And I said, sure, I'd like to go with you. And so we were talking to him on the phone, and I said some complimentary things about Tamara, what a wonderful and charming daughter you have. And he said, oh, I hadn't noticed. Which of course was not at all how he felt about her. It was ridiculous. But the next thing he did was he started asking me my opinion about his hip and his surgery and what was coming up. And I was so kind of surprised that, you know, I mean, for all he knew, I could have been a complete ignoramus, a psychopath, or, you know, but he wanted to know what I thought and what he should do and so on. And as I got to know him, I realized that was just his modus operandi. He had this profound and deep respect for the points of view and this curiosity for the points of view, the opinions, the advice, the perspectives of anyone, regardless of their age, regardless of their background, their experience. He just wanted to consult with people and listen to them and hear their views on things in this way that was so respectful and appreciative, and it was really wonderful. When I first met him in person, I thought, gosh, what a wonderful guy. I won't get to know him very long. I mean, he looked so frail. He was, you know, barely surviving operation after operation with a shadow of pancreatic cancer in the background. And I wouldn't have guessed that I would get to enjoy a good 4.5 years with him at the end of his life. And had the wonderful time taking him to England and to Normandy to visit friends and family with Tamara. And he was so uncomplaining and just so remarkable. He could talk about pain without complaining about it. He could talk about all his, you know, the things that were, you know, very shaky in his medical situation without a sense of irritation or frustration with his medical providers, without self-pity or anything. And that too just struck me as how he was sort of gleefully oblivious to his own challenges, and whether it was something trivial like the bowl of soup that mostly ended up on his shirt, or something quite serious like the time he had accidentally injected himself with a double dosage of his Humalog, which could have been lethal. And while the rest of us were freaking out and running around and calling 911 and getting everything ready for the paramedics to come take him to the hospital, he was just kind of, you know, humming to himself and, you know, having a good time. But what there was something about the way in which he, I don't think I ever heard him use the word love or talk about love. He demonstrated it through his attention to his children and his grandchildren and to other people in his life, through his curiosity, through his generosity. I just have so many memories of extravagant meals with large numbers of friends and family that he insisted on paying for, and he really acted out his love and was in a totally humble and unpretentious way, was very faithful to everyone that he knew and cared about. And as his body got weaker and more frail, his spirit just seemed to get, if anything, stronger and brighter. And sorry. When I learned that he'd passed away, I just had this kind of image of his spirit bursting out of this body that could no longer contain it. It was so bright and beautiful right to the very end. And I never got to see him walk without a walker or a wheelchair, but I think now of him being truly free from his body for his spirit to shine and for him to be everywhere and to fly and ramble and walk as he chooses and continue enjoying himself. So it was a real blessing to have known him. Thank
you. Okay, yes, and we have a...
Three more things.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see that? I just want to
There's
say,
negotiation.
was this a letter to us.
Okay, that's just it, but we really.
Or we can also leave it open. We'll leave it on the table. Okay.
The slideshow? Oh, yes.
Beata.
Beata, of course, Beata.
Words, I feel, Rex has shown us the most important things in life. The treasures we gather are worthless unless they are the treasures of friendship and family. That's all that's worth having in life. What's the point of silver and gold if we haven't got the love of our family in that lens? The most important treasure is our friendships. And we've had wonderful examples of all his friends and his family who enjoyed his love and these treasures to remember forever. And I remember walking in Nepal where I heard words, I will love you, everyone that is my love, as long as you live. And when you are no more, I will continue to love you as long as I live. We will love Rex, all of us, while we live and treasure his memories.
Thank you, Beata.
So we have a slideshow and then just a little bit more music and then there's food. So which Rex would definitely want you to partake in. little, I guess it's a little cheesy, but we wanted to sing one of his favorite Beatles songs, Kind of Everybody. So it's on the back of your program orders. And Rex actually had a really good voice. His children did not inherit that. But we did inherit the